Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. Today's show is supported by Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind for less than a... All right. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning, even hard to understand contracts, plus a whole lot more. For more information, contact Legal Shield at 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Again, 213-245-1305. Or visit them at nocourt.us. That's nocourt.us. And tell them the Sports Circus sent you. And a big welcome to everybody listening in on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast and Magic 97 FM, 97.9 FM in fabulous Las Vegas, and all those watching on Hotel Television and AMP TV. That's AAMP.TV. Folks, we have a very special co-pilot and co-host today, and we're going to go ahead and let him introduce himself.
Jerry Maguire, and our brand new book is out called That's What I'm Talking About on Amazon. You can also get it signed by me at royfirestone.com. And I'm glad to be here. We're going to have a little fun today, right?
All right. Roy Firestone. Yes. Hey, you know, Roy, out of all your endeavors, now I have to do this for the audience because for those people that have been living under a rock and they don't know who you are for some odd reason, I have to just give a quick rundown. Now, as the 7-time Emmy Award-winning, 7-time Cable Ace Award-winning host, interviewer from the groundbreaking original host of ESPN's legendary Close-Up, right? Up Close Classic.
Close, yeah.
Up Close Classic, Prime Time.
Close, yeah, Up Close. Close-Up is different than Up Close.
I know, but you could do that better than everybody else anyway. It doesn't matter. Now, also, you've interviewed 5,000 athletes, musicians, actors, political figures, writers, filmmakers, narrator, writer, New York Times bestseller. We're going to get to that. Producer, and you're an entertainer, which I want to hear a little bit more about that. But you've actually performed on more than 2,000 stages over 2 decades?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just came back. I did a big show in Seattle. I did a show in Palm Springs. I was in South America doing my live show. It's a one-man show, Sal, about sports, but it's got a lot of entertainment stuff in there, too. I do musical impressions, everybody from Sinatra, Smokey Robinson, the Bee Gees, Neil Diamond, Tony Bennett, Johnny Mathis. Yeah, I even get to obscure 70s artists like Boz Scaggs and Gordon Lightfoot,
really?
Sammy Davis Jr. Oh, we have a lot of fun. Plus, I do a ton of sports material, too. And my book, which is That's What I'm Talking About, which is, as I mentioned before, available at Amazon, and it's also available if you want it signed at royfirestone.com. It's got a kind of a storytelling feel to it in terms of all the experiences I've had. For example, I interviewed Elton John about his love of the Atlanta Braves. People may not know that Elton John is a major sports fan, particularly a Braves fan, and he told me at one point, he knew more about the Braves than Peter Gammons or any of those baseball analysts.
Really?
It was incredible. I mean, he was talking about Rafael Furcal and Bobby Cox should have Chipper Jones batting in the 3-hole. It was incredible. And I asked him why. And he said, because when I started in America, all I ever did was watch soap operas, and I watched the baseball. I watched TBS, the Superstation. And he became addicted. Everything Elton does, he's addicted to, essentially, good and bad. And he was addicted to baseball. And he said, incredible, he said, back when the Braves were in the playoffs, if they were playing well and they were winning, if they won the game, and I'm doing a concert, I would have it in my ear during the concert. And he said,
no kidding.
Yes, he says, if the Braves won, I'd give 3 or 4 more songs. He says, if they lost, I'd cut it off. I'd cut it right. So
that's hilarious.
I actually, people may know me from Jerry Maguire, the movie Jerry Maguire, where I got that scene with Cuba Gooding Jr., Rod Tidwell. And, of course, it was not just Show Me the Money from that movie. It was Don't Make Me Cry, Roy, where he gets the contract in the final scene. As a matter of fact, I was told that Jerry Maguire is running right now like 5 times a day somewhere on TV. Incredible.
Wow.
So I do the show and I do the movie, and I never thought it was going to even go anywhere. And sure enough, it's a big part of the movie. I'm in Liverpool, England, about a year later, and I'm at a reception, and I get a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and it's Paul McCartney. And he goes,
Really?
I think I know you. I think I know who you are. And I said, I don't think so, Paul, but what an honor it is for me to meet you. He goes, no, I know you. And I said, no, you don't. We've never met. And the woman that was with his publicist going, he means the movie Jerry Maguire. I went, oh, you mean Jerry Maguire? He goes, that's it. That's it. You're the guy who makes him cry. And I said, wow. He goes, what's your name? And I said, Roy. He goes, don't make me cry, Roy. And that was the beginning of my second book, which is called Don't Make Me Cry, Roy. And it was just an incredible whirlwind, Sal. I mean, I've had an opportunity to do these shows and my live shows, and I do a tribute to the Beatles. In my live show, I'm talking about the stage show, which I do all over the country. I'm getting ready to go to Florida to do something next on Saturday night. And I do a tribute to Glenn Campbell, a kind of a moving tribute to Glenn Campbell. We do, as I said, about 25 different celebrity impressions, musical stuff, sports storytelling, a lot of stories about Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson and some of the contemporary athletes from today. So I've been really fortunate to be able to do this show. And frankly, I say this, and I hope it's with some humility, but I don't think there's anybody else Frank Caliendo's tremendous impressions. He does a lot of sports stuff. But this is a whole range of material. This is funny, serious, poignant about my career as both a sports broadcaster and an entertainer. And I'm just so proud of it. I've been doing it for almost 30 years. And people are coming around to here and seeing the show. And, there's just so many great stories. You can fire away and ask me about certain people. I'll be happy to tell you some stories.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. Out of all of the interviews and everything that you've done, look, I'm not here to talk to you about interviews. You've done 5,000. We don't have but maybe 30 minutes in our whole time together here today. I mean, you could go on for, I don't know, about 5 or 6 months if I was to ask you about interview after interview.
Well, I will tell you this. There's so many funny stories. I'll give you a couple of quick ones. But I had Hakeem Olajuwon and Charles Barkley on the show. And I wanted to start with something offbeat. So I said, gentlemen, Hakeem and Charles, and there couldn't be any more different, as you know, Sal. Here's an offbeat question. Do you believe, gentlemen, that you're going to heaven? Well, Olajuwon has this very lilting Nigerian voice. Well, I believe that my service to God is pure and consistent, and it comes from the spirit of my soul and my contribution to society. I believe I shall someday go to heaven, and thank you so much for asking. I said, very nicely said, Hakeem. How about you, Charles? Are you going to heaven? Well, Barkley thought for a moment. He goes, I don't know, but it's definitely going to be a close vote,
That sounds exactly like something he would say,
And I remember one time interviewing Wilt Chamberlain, and he was in a $300,000 white Rolls-Royce convertible, and it's actually in the book. He's got the top down of this incredible car. He's got Dalmatian dogs the size of horses. And I walk up to him, and he's wearing a silver and silk jumpsuit with a burgundy beret. He's 7'2", 325 pounds. He's got gold chains. And I said, could you do my show? And Will said, I don't know, but I'm trying to keep a low profile. That was one of those guys.
Back in a minute here on the Circus with Firestone. 1 second, folks.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
My favorite one had to do with the Green Bay Packers. And I love the fact that they dealt off Ty Montgomery because of a blown assignment. Green Bay isn't Green Bay unless they have a good running game. Then they can win 10 Super Bowls. The fact is, you don't have a running game. You've got 70% passing, and that's not where Aaron Rodgers needs to be. He needs to be in a position where he's got a running game to offset the passing game and so forth. I like the move. Green Bay didn't have a running game anyway, so all they're doing is saying, we're going to get rid of you because you don't follow instructions.
Well, he made one of the most boneheaded plays I've ever seen. There's 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock. They traded him on Tuesday.
They should have cut him on Sunday night.
He shouldn't have been on the plane back to Green Bay.
Right, they should have made him walk back to Green Bay.
No, it was a terrible play. Now, he's not a stupid guy. He went to Stanford. He's not a dumb guy.
He's not a dumb guy, but he doesn't follow instructions.
He made a terrible play.
The fact is he didn't follow instructions. And you say he's not a dumb guy. His own agenda he put ahead of his team.
I agree.
Thus, he is a dumb guy. Right or wrong?
Wrong. He just got selfish. You're not going to convince me that a guy from Stanford's a dum-dum.
No!
from the miracles.
So you heard yesterday's show at Roy Firestone. Didn't you hear a little clip about him going into the office where Smokey was at? That was really good material, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really funny, man.
Yeah, and then you heard him.
I thought it was hilarious. It was cool, though. It was cool. Really cool story, man. I enjoyed listening to that.
Right, and then he gave a couple of bars. Can you give us a couple of more from Ooh Baby Baby, and let's see if you could do it better than Roy Firestone? Come on, man!
All right, you know what? Why not? I did you wrong. My heart went out to play, but in the game I lost you. What a price to pay. Hey, I'm crying. Ooh, baby, baby. How's that, man?
That's
Is that okay? Is that good enough?
That's incredible.
That's fantastic.
You know why? Because that's what you do. You're in the incredible business, Sid. That's awesome. Yes! Only on the Sports Circus. You're going to get sports? You get music?
People tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show. Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
Once upon a time, there lived 3 energy hogs. Now, an energy hog is what you have when humans waste energy. One day, the 3 energy hogs set out to find themselves a cottage.
Let's look for leaky windows,
Said the first energy hog, for he knew that would waste energy.
Let's look for leaky doors,
Said the second.
Let's look for a swing set,
Said the third, for he had more blubber than brains. So they set off down the road. Presently, they came upon a tiny cottage where dwelled a clever girl named Dreadylocks.
I hope it has leaky windows.
Cried the first energy hog.
I hope it has leaky doors.
Cried the second.
I hope it has a bathroom.
Cried the third, for only his brains were smaller than his bladder. But Dreadylocks liked playing cool games at energyhog.org, and from energyhog.org she learned how to use energy wisely. So the 3 energy hogs were forced to look elsewhere to waste energy, and had to use the disgusting restroom at the gas station down the road. And the moral of the story is, to use energy wisely, log on to energyhog.org, or waste not, hog not.
This public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you start up with capital, business strategy, sales, and marketing, and establish your company with a physical location or an online presence on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea. Then American Business Trust can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com. Or call them at 657-600-1876. That's American Business Trust Company. 657-600-1876. Call them today. They'll help your business right away. That's American Business Trust Company. Online at abtrustco.com. American Business Trust Company.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, here with our special co-pilot and co-host, Roy Firestone, 7-time Emmy Award and 7-time Cable Ace winning journalist, sportscaster, producer, host. Hey, guess what? This segment is brought to you in part by Roy Firestone. Folks, make sure you check out his new book. That's What I'm Talking About. Roy Firestone, forward by Bill Walton. You can find it, I believe, at Amazon.com. And Roy, welcome back to the show.
That's right. It is Amazon.com. And if folks want to buy the book for the holidays or a gift, they can go to RoyFirestone.com itself, and I just make a request, and I'll be happy to sign and inscribe it, anything you want. If you buy it on Amazon, it's great too, but you can't get it inscribed. So I'm happy to sign everything. And the book's doing really well, by the way. I think it was number 5 overall for sports books on Amazon. So
wow,
I'm pretty
incredible.
thrilled about that. And, it's only been out about 2 months and 2.5 months, and it's selling out, and I'm really excited about it. And this is my 3rd book. I also have a musical CD. People may not know that I sing, and you can sample it. It's called Another Voice. It's on YouTube if you want to listen to it. And I have a ball, Sal, doing this. I've been doing this, as I said, for about 30 years, over 2,000 shows, live shows, for all sizes of crowds, corporate, conventions, colleges, small meetings, performing arts centers. I've been doing it for a long time, and I, played with Reba McEntire and Lou Rawls, the late Lou Rawls. Had a chance to play with the Four Tops, Loretta Lynn. I mean, really, really thrilling stuff, and it's really a dream come true for me. So I just enjoy talking about both the live show and the old show that I did up close at ESPN for about 24 years.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And so for everybody listening in on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, this is a real treat. Roy came on about a year or so ago, and I'll tell you, we had a lot of fun with him. He was even singing. And the best part about it, listen, folks, in case you don't know, Roy has an excellent voice, and he even sang part of a song from Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. And what was great is that he gave a little sample of that, and then the next day, the current Miracles, Sidney Justin, the frontman for the Miracles today, Sid came in and finished the song out for you, and that was incredible because I played the recorded version. He's like, "Oh man, I gotta come onto the show. I gotta finish that up." And it was incredible.
Smokey, I don't like to. I'm not usually a name dropper, but Smokey is a friend of mine, and I've done a lot of things. In fact, my first Letterman show, he was a guest on the show, I should say, and we were in the green room together. Before I went out, we were talking about the old Miracles and Tears of the Clown, Tracks of My Tears, which are related songs. People may not know that Smokey wrote those 2 songs as kind of partners to each other, Tears of the Clown and Tracks of My Tears. He always liked the word tears within the song because it framed his musical lyrics. I think he's one of the great lyricists in pop music history. Anyway, so I came on. One time both of us had laryngitis, and I was in the doctor, and I didn't see him until I was starting to walk in, and there was Smokey. He could barely talk. He was like this. And finally he said, "Hey, Roy, I understand you do an impression of me. Would you go out and appear as me in Las Vegas? I have no voice left." So that was a funny experience. But, as I said, I do impressions of, as I said in the show, of Smokey and the Bee Gees and Billy Joel. And we do all kinds of stuff. I do a tribute to Elton John and Glenn Campbell. Plus, as I said before, lots and lots of sports stuff. And a lot of it is in the book, about all my experiences in Las Vegas, doing shows for Steve Wynn and the like. And, people have compared to me, I don't know if people know the name Danny Gans, but you're based in Vegas, and people know about Danny Gans in Vegas. He was a friend of mine, too. We even look a little bit alike. Danny was a consummate impressionist. My show is not all impressions. There's music and storytelling. And I just love doing it. And writing this book has just been a big gas for me. I just love performing and writing and observing, and the stories in this book are unbelievable in my journey and all the 40 years and been in broadcasting.
I would imagine with all those 40 years and all those experiences, I mean, look, I don't have any grandkids, but if I did, I would have fun stories, but you would have stories for an entire nation. I couldn't tell but maybe 2 or 3 stories, but your stories from the years and years and years of doing it, some great experiences, some probably highly unexpected. But I tell you what, why don't you give me an example of one of those unexpected experiences in the middle of one of your stories?
Oh, well, I mean, interviewing Richard Nixon, and he's a sports fan at the time. Forget the politics for a moment. I mean, he's just a major baseball fan, and he's talking to me while he's being interviewed about baseball in the 50s and 60s. And I was always a fan of Eddie Matthews, and then later, of course, Mike Schmidt. And I was a fan, and you were a fan, Roy, of Brooks Robinson. And, I'm getting along great with him. And, politically, we didn't agree, but baseball-wise, we had a great conversation. So we're wrapping up the interview, and it's on YouTube, and I'm interviewing him, and I'm just having a great time. And he says suddenly, out of left field, he goes, "You know, when I lived in Key Biscayne, Florida, after I was a president, I used to watch you on local news, and then I used to see your show up close. And the show with your father was spectacular. I really enjoyed watching him. He was very knowledgeable about sports." Now, you understand, my father couldn't stand Richard Nixon. He did not like his politics at all. So, but I still was shocked. So I called my father on the phone, and I said, "Listen, Pop, I just interviewed Richard Nixon." He goes, "Oh, let me tell you, that guy belongs in prison." I said, "Dad, before you finish your sentence, he just said he saw the show you were on with me. He thought you were terrific. He thought you had great insights, and he wanted to tell you that he really enjoyed the show, and very best of luck to you." My father, the long pause at the other end of the phone, he goes, "Well, you know, Nixon was always one of the great presidents we've ever had because he did a lot of great things."
I like how he changed his tone.
Right.
I like how he changed his tone on that.
It just changed everything. It just shows you, though, that sports can be a language for people if you differ. If you differ politically or philosophically. One thing about sports, Sal, and that is you can't deny the fact who is great and who's not great. It's who won and who didn't win. There's no debating it. It's clear cut. And that's been my experience. I think the sports can be a language. It could be, to me, a kind of a glue for American society if people can just enjoy themselves a little bit more, not take everything so seriously.
Right, and I think that's a big problem. Folks, we're here with Roy Firestone. Listen, Roy, out of all of those division experiences, I absolutely agree that, look, there is a common language from the cavemen to today, and at some point, sports and competition will make everybody, hopefully, at least temporarily, forget about all their issues and focus on something a little bit more fun, maybe something a little bit more globally speaking as well. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, and, you know, I think there were people who united us through sports. I mean, I think even though he divided us temporarily in the 60s, Muhammad Ali was a guy like that. I mean, he was a guy who eventually people came around and they realized that he was about, I think, individual love for yourself, loving the person that you are, uplifting people, inspiring people. And there's a thing I do at the end of the show, in my live show, where he met an old man. I may have told this story before. But he met an old man in a wheelchair once and in Miami, and we're filming this with our crew. And he goes, "Hey, old man, do you know who I am?" And the old man looked at him and he said, "I don't know who you are." And that man was like 97 years old. And Ali starts to walk away. And then suddenly the old man got it. You know, like a light bulb went off on his head. And finally he says, "Wait a minute. I know who you are. You are the greatest of all time. I love you because you're the champ of the world. Everybody in my family is dead, but I still love you, and my dream come true because I met the greatest of all time, the champ of the world." And Ali goes, "You're right. Now tell everybody in this room, who is my name? What is my name? Tell everybody who I am." And the old man looked up and he went, "Joe Louis," right? Now everybody started going crazy in the entourage. They started to correct the old man. But then Ali said something beautiful. He says, "Don't you ever correct an old man?" He's telling this to his entourage. "His whole life, all he ever wanted to meet was champ. Wanted to have his dream come true. And the only champ that ever mattered to him was Joe Louis." And then he said a beautiful thing. He says, "And if that's true, then tonight my name is Joe Louis." And that's why I thought, Sal, what made Ali so great. Ali was great because he uplifted people and he gave people dignity. And he gave people a sense of who they were. And he never really offended people except when he took his stance. But once he got past that and he was a fighter, he became, to me, a seminal figure in the 60s, a guy who really represented what an athlete should be, character and love. And he was beloved and he was inspiring. And I think the fact that he uplifted people, and that's what makes, to me, a champion, not just in sports, but anything in life, uplift other human beings, make people feel good every single day. That, to me, is why Muhammad Ali is the greatest of all time.
Well, I absolutely agree. And let's face it, you take a guy like Ali, he's the champion. I mean, he's the greatest of all time. and what he did. And arguably, Roy, I think you're probably the greatest of all time in the interview world. A lot of people say it. It is what it is, folks. I mean, look, in our last minute here, I got to tell you, folks, if you haven't seen Roy live in a cabaret show, this guy is an incredible entertainer, a singer, a comedian. He's done it all outside of the best interviews on the planet, because certainly not enough time to talk about it.
I appreciate that.
And listen, Roy, you have earned every accolade that you've got, and believe me, you've got a lot more coming with your third bestseller coming out here. That's what I'm talking about, by Roy Firestone. Listen, folks, you can check it out at Amazon.com. And Roy, you go ahead and give everybody the last 20 seconds here. Give a great impression to get us out of here before we go to break.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Howard Cosell. Howard Cosell, I hear what you say. You're full of hot air. I got a bad toupee. Howard Cosell, I'm the greatest of all time. There you go. You got a little Cosell and Ali. I know we're running out of time. I'll give you a little bit. But I love doing the show,
Roy.
Sal, and thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Roy Firestone. We'll be back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
Once upon a time, there lived 3 energy hogs. Now, an energy hog is what you have when humans waste energy. One day, the 3 energy hogs set out to find themselves a cottage.
Let's look for leaky windows,
Said the first energy hog, for he knew that would waste energy.
Let's look for leaky doors,
Said the second.
Let's look for a swing set,
Said the third, for he had more blubber than brains. So they set off down the road. Presently, they came upon a tiny cottage where dwelled a clever girl named Dreadylocks.
I hope it has leaky windows.
Cried the first energy hog.
I hope it has leaky doors.
Cried the second.
I hope it has a bathroom.
Cried the third, for only his brains were smaller than his bladder. But Dreadylocks liked playing cool games at energyhog.org. And from energyhog.org, she learned how to use energy wisely. So the 3 energy hogs were forced to look elsewhere to waste energy and had to use the disgusting restroom at the gas station down the road. And the moral of the story is, to use energy wisely, log on to energyhog.org or waste not, hog not.
This public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Sal. This segment is brought to you in part by the American Business Trust Company, helping companies with strategy, sales and marketing, capital resources, establishing companies with physical locations or on the internet. Visit them online for more information at abtrustco.com. That's ABTRUSTCO.com, abtrustco.com, or call 657-600-1876 to learn more. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Go ahead and give them a holler for some more information. You'll be surprised. They can probably help you out. A big round of applause for the American Business Trust Company. And got to tell you, Sonar having Roy Firestone on in the last couple of segments, as our co-pilot and co-host for the show. It's always fun to have Roy on. You know, we've had Roy on before, and he's a tremendous talent, you know?
Yeah, the best part about having Roy on is, especially as a co-host, is you get more than just Roy as a co-host. You get
right.
you get everybody else.
Many personalities. Right.
Yeah, Nixon, Muhammad Ali.
Well, we had Ali. Who else do we have? We had Howard Cosell. He did a really good Howard. Good Cosell. A good Barkley. I mean, look, the guy has just endless talent, and I like to view Roy as one of those guys that he really can do. He could do it all, and he has done it all. I didn't want to talk about interviews because let's face it, 5,000 interviews, over 5,000. And I remember when we had him on last time, I specifically had asked the other guy that was involved with the show at that time. I'm like, whatever you do, don't ask him about an interview because there's too many of them. And let's face it, you don't want to interview the interviewers about an interview. You want to find out about them. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why Roy is so good at his impressions, because he knows everybody that he does the impressions.
He really does.
So I'm sure, Sal,
really
you've got your buddy there in Vegas that you can mimic and you can make fun of. So that's what I like about talking with Roy, is it sounds like he's just dogging or poking fun at his friends by imitating them, and it's just such a jolly spirit. I really appreciate.
Yeah, Roy's got a tremendous disposition. I mean, he just wrote his third book, and it's going to be a bestseller, New York Times bestseller, like the other ones. That's just what he does. This guy wins at everything he does. You know why? Because he works hard. All you people listening in on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, those watching on Hotel Television and AMP TV, that's AAMP.TV, and those even listening on Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas, believe me, it's not often that you get a super talent like Roy Firestone onto the show, and he's so personable and he's so easy to deal with. You know why? Because not only has he been the interviewer, but he's also probably been interviewed 1,000 times on top of it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You think about working hard and actually putting in the time like that. He shows it well, and he wears it well. And that's what I really like about it. Even though he is one of the greatest I guess journalists, really, not just great at interviews. He's still humble about it too. He's still ready to talk to pretty much anybody, and that's the sign of a good host.
Well, you know, Sports Illustrated called Roy, quote, the best interviewer in the business, close quote. The late Pulitzer Prize winning columnist Jim Murray once said, quote, Roy Firestone isn't just the best sports interviewer I've ever seen. He's the best interviewer, period. That includes Diane Sawyer, Barbara Walters, Mike Wallace, Maury Safer, and all of them, close quote. This guy has been described as that, but he's also really good on stage. I mean, look, whether it's from the comedian side, I mean, whether he's doing a monologue, whether he's doing impressions, the guy's got an incredible voice. He sings really well, and we just didn't really have the time for him to, you know, break out in song like he did last time, which was really cool. But the idea of having a well-rounded person with superior communication skills, folks, everybody has a lot to learn from somebody like Roy Firestone. I'll tell you that much.
Well, let me do a segue right now about working hard and being winners. There's a team out there that I think is already checked out. Did you watch the No?
No, I don't think I watched that.
Did you watch the Raiders?
Give me something
completely?
Give me something over time where somebody's really bad over time, and make that analogy, or give me that comparison. Remember, it's live, folks. Anything.
Well, what I'm saying is the Raiders have checked out of California. That's what I'm trying to say. They are short timing it in here. That's where I'm trying to go.
Okay. All right.
They are essentially have already packed their bags, have already moved their Amazon Echoes and Google Homes to Las Vegas, already putting in their ADTs and buying condos. These guys will no longer play in California, and it seems like they'll no longer play with the California name on them. They're ready. They're ready for Vegas.
But they're moved. Listen, it's already Las Vegas, California. It doesn't matter. It's the same. It's garbage in, garbage out. All you're doing is moving a little bit to the east, but you've got the same crowd here. And essentially here in Las Vegas, I mean, since this is Las Vegas, California, every weekend we have an influx of a couple of 100,000 visitors coming from the greater LA and San Diego markets, the Inland Empire, just like where our NBC affiliate is over there in the Inland Empire. That's KCAA. So the idea is, look, these people migrate over here, so they're not going to miss a beat.
I'm not talking about the fans. I'm talking about the team. Did you see that poor performance?
No.
Terrible.
No, I did. All I right. All I know is the Raiders may have checked out, but what at least they have done over time is they have played to their audience. For the same reason, the Golden State Warriors have basically checked out of San Francisco or out of Oakland and moved to San Francisco for their new stadium. Now, you remember in a previous episode, we brought on the chief marketing officer, or the chief revenue officer, I should say, for the Golden State Warriors. And his job was to make everything financially possible, or financially what's the word I'm looking for? It's all the fiduciary responsibility for the Warriors and their new stadium, right? And look, their job is to do what? Transfer everybody from the East Bay over to the other side of the bay, right? Over to the peninsula. And so everybody in San Francisco, being a Golden State Warriors fan, let's face it, they were the big winners on that, just like when the 49ers moved from Candlestick Park down to Levi Stadium. It's the same idea. So you have these teams on the move, and the fan bases will follow them to a certain degree. But at least with the Raiders in their case, well, their fan base was already either here or it was in nearby Southern California.
Well, my question is, at what point is it okay for a team that's moving to check out? Essentially, their 2-week notice to where they cruise. Well, at what point?
2 weeks and I'm out of here.
Well, that's what I mean. At what point is it okay for a team that is moving to turn around and say, you know what? We're moving. It's okay. We can cruise the rest of the season.
Well, look, it doesn't matter what sport it is. I think teams just write their seasons off halfway through, even before they're halfway through anyway, with all the tanking going on in baseball and basketball and football. We don't really see it in hockey, but we see it in the other sports. We certainly see it in the NFL. I believe we see it in Major League Baseball. Basketball, we definitely see it. It's a lot harder to gauge in hockey because you're never out of it until maybe the last 2 weeks of the season in hockey. So I would say that because of the parity in hockey, it's a little bit more difficult to have that tanking or checking out. And so you're saying checking out from a move. I'm saying just checking out, period. And so therein lies a problem in professional sports, at least the team sports, when it comes to draft picks.
Do you think that sandbagging essentially is what we're talking about here for better draft picks or a better position for the next season? Do you think that is honorable for the game, or do you think that no matter what, you should always try to win?
Always try to win. As a matter of fact, what should happen in all of these drafts, they should have a reverse draft where the team that just missed the playoffs, I mean, they're right there. Maybe they're a player away or something like that to get there to be competitive. Those are the teams that should be rewarded. So you look at the National Football League, for those teams that just missed, or the NBA, they just missed, fine, you give those guys the top draft pick because it makes the league more competitive instead of trying to raise the bottom. The bottom is the bottom. Chances are they're not going anywhere for a decade anyway. So why feed that system? Because it's a failing system. Why not reward the teams that just missed? Because they're trying in the first place. They're not trying to just miss the playoffs. They're trying to make the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. When you're out there, you should be there for the win. The win at that day, the win. It's those people that play the game. You know what I mean? The game within the game. It happens in baseball a lot that if this one team wins, but this one over here loses, then we'll get a wild card seat, but our opponents won't if this one wins. It's a lot of game within the game. It's metagaming.
Right. Well, there is gamesmanship that also needs to be discussed, but that's at a later date because we don't have time, at least in this segment. We're out of here in just a few seconds. But more importantly, if you're looking at the way that the league is set up, basically the league is set up to fail. Many teams are set up to fail. Maybe we'll get into that in the next segment. We're out of time here in this one. Folks, don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Back in a...
What are you so happy about?
I'm on the pill.
Aren't you two a bit old to worry about having more kids?
Not her, me.
You lost me there, buddy.
Steelman pills. Things weren't always looking up, if you catch my drift. So, my doctor prescribed me a little something.
Like Viagra?
Yeah, but that's expensive, and it wasn't covered by my insurance. Steelman pills cost me less than $3 a pill, and virtually the same effect. I just called and got over 40 pills for only $99.
I have this friend who might be looking and...
Well, if your friend wants some help, the consultation is free over the phone. No clinic. Steelman Pill sends it in the mail in a confidential package.
I'm on it. I mean, my friend will be on it.
Steelman Pills, going the extra mile to help men with erectile dysfunction.
800-218-4958. 800-218-4958. 800-218-4958. That's 800-218-4958.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our podcast. Check out our partners as well. Lots of great charities over on the partners page for the Sports Circus. Also, make sure you follow us on social media. That would be on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. On Instagram, we are TSC Show. On Twitter, we're at the Sports Circus. And, of course, on Facebook, the same, the Sports Circus. All right, a big round of applause for the Sports Circus. Also, make sure you check out CSNCoyotes.com. CSN Coyotes is the College of Southern Nevada athletic department. Great baseball, got upcoming basketball, great soccer, girls softball, women's softball. I'll tell you what, folks, there's 40,000 students that go to the College of Southern Nevada, one of the better community colleges in America, and it's in a glorious place right here in the Vegas Valley. Everybody's freezing their butts off back east, but guess what? It's 71 degrees and breezy here in Vegas, depending on where you're at, of course. What a glorious day here in, well, we won't even tell you what month it is. You just guess what month it is. It doesn't matter. All right. So, folks, make sure you check out CSNCoyotes.com. Make sure you support them. They're also a proud supporter of the Sports Circus. You know, having Roy Firestone on earlier as our co-pilot and co-host was a lot of fun. I wanted to ask him a little bit about basketball. Let me ask you a question, Sonar. Now, we know, look, you being from Florida originally, right? Or no, you're actually
Ohio.
from Ohio. You're from Ohio. All right. So think about the draft process. We had mentioned a little bit about drafting and tanking and stuff like that, right? And then, look, Cleveland got their draft pick with LeBron James, right? And so that was, quite some time ago. And they've done pretty well when they had him nonetheless. And then there are other teams that have had great drafts. I mean, we know the Chicago Bulls had what? Michael Jordan, right? And that was back, 1983, four season, whatever. 84 was his first season. But now let's fast forward to recently. There was a recent draft, and the Sacramento Kings had passed on Luka Doncic in the draft. And now they passed on him for a myriad of reasons. Why? I mean, frankly, I don't even get it. I mean, this kid already comes in as a European champion. I don't know why you wouldn't draft him because he has pro ball background already, and he knows how to win at that level. Now, the Kings passed on him in the draft because apparently, Vlade Divac doesn't like Luka Doncic's dad. Come on, man. That's stupid. Now, according to NBC Sports, Vlade Divac is well connected in Europe and has seen Doncic. So why pass? Well, a report said, quote, "My understanding is that Divac, being so close to Luka and knowing his dad so well, factored into their decision. Basically, he didn't think a whole lot of Luka's dad and the whole like father, like son. Well, no, this is a different dude. Basically, Vlade, you messed up." And that was from a quote from a reporter from the Four Letter Network, and the report came from NBC Sports. Now, the Kings, no doubt, the Kings will undoubtedly push back on the idea that there's certainly no way to prove that alleged rumor actually happened. Now, the Kings' argument for their moves would be a respectable one. Some people say it would be respectable. Some people wouldn't. They had Marvin Bagley higher on the draft board. That's Marvin Bagley from Duke. And he's obviously quite a big man. I mean, he's a young kid, but let's face it, out right now with the flu, with a broken thumb and so forth. But look, they had a primary ball handler they had De'Aaron Fox from a previous draft. So from the outside, it's impossible to say what really drove the Kings' decision not to pick up Doncic, but it would not be the first time that personal feelings got in the way for some smart basketball moves. Let's take a look at some of those. Now, remember, even if you buy Sacramento's reasoning, that doesn't make this any less of a miss, in my opinion, for sure. Now, they either underestimated Doncic or overestimated Bagley, who looks to be good but not really on Doncic's level. Now, also having a player on a team let's face it, it's terrible to pass on a great player available even if they fill the same role. So here, it's the whole, we have a Clyde Drexler, so we're not going to take Michael Jordan. I I mean, how silly and stupid is that? You know what I mean?
Well, you don't know if it's a Michael Jordan or not.
No, that's the whole thing. You don't know. These alleged experts say, well, you shouldn't have passed on this guy, but how do you know if you don't have the track record?
That's the thing. You already have a person who's working on your team already there. Why are you going to just leave it like that and just completely give somebody else away?
Yeah, I don't know. But look at it this way. These alleged experts, they state, well, you should have done this. Your draft was a bust because of that. And there's no background. But in this particular case, because Luka Doncic actually had played professional basketball over in Europe, they already had a sample of what he would do against great players. Now, look at the NBA right now. They're littered with good players, really good players from the European League, right? And even from international basketball. So historically, I think that really was a big mistake on Sacramento's decision-making. But at the same time, they still got themselves a great player in Bagley. So you could say, okay, did they tank to get this guy or that guy? Going back to your discussion from the last segment, going back to the tanking idea. Now, do you believe that in the Professional Football League, that one player is going to make a difference immediately for a team? I would argue that the Buffalo Bills are the team that has done it right over the last handful of years. You know what I mean?
Well, it depends on that person. The Giants certainly changed when Eli showed up. So I mean, it's one of those things. But to take it back to the basketball side, they passed up on a person to double down on somebody who's already part of the team. That person is now more loyal than they have ever been, because they've done something for them. Even if it was alleged or however people found out about it, they still decided to double down on the team that they had, and that's going to instill even more integrity and someone who wants to play for that team.
Right. This is exactly why I mentioned the Buffalo Bills, because, people complain about them. Well, they call them Buffaloos and all this other crap. Listen, you can call them whatever you want. I don't care what the record is. The fact is they have a system. The system works well. They haven't screwed with the system. They haven't tinkered or made any big mistakes with it. I think the Bills, out of all of these teams in the NFL, I think the Bills are doing it right. You look at Major League Baseball, and the teardowns and the putbacks together are one thing, but the tanking is something entirely different. People were saying, for example, well, the Miami Marlins were tanking in a season or whatever, or the Baltimore Orioles were tanking. Well, you can say that, but what is their plan? If they are just genuinely that bad and they have stripped everything down. Now, Derek Jeter tore down the Miami Marlins and is rebuilding himself a quality team. People were complaining with the Tampa Bay Rays, the same thing. Well, Tampa Bay, they tore it down, and they still have a quality team, even losing a bunch of great players. So in the NBA, what we don't see is that formula. We don't see teardowns, and we don't see teams making a fast turnaround. I'd say the NBA is the one example of tanking is really a bad scene. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, if you bring that's the problem with the basketball today, is that we're under this impression that one person and one player can completely change the team, because we've seen it happen, maybe twice in our entire lives of NBA. The issue is everybody's trying to find the next greatest of all time. Why not make a team of the greatest of all time? They don't call it the Dream Somebody. They call it the Dream Team. There are people part of this. Let's get some cogs working together.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. A lot of people forget that.
That's the way I look at it. Is if you can get, and that's what every single sports movie's ever built on, is a bunch of mediocre guys beating up the one guy who's got it. And that's the type of idealism that I like to live for in my sports.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. A lot of people seem to forget that. So, I mean, look, whether you're a fan of, pick your favorite sport, the fact is tanking is just that, but it's ever so present, I think, in the NBA, because they think one player can turn the team around. In the case of Michael Jordan, we've seen it. In the case of LeBron James, we've seen it. In the case of Kobe Bryant, we saw it as well. But guess what? Those are generational players. It doesn't happen all the time. But Luka Doncic could be that guy. And I'll tell you what, Dallas is doing the right thing, and good for them. I tip my hat to them. And a big thanks for Roy Firestone being on today's show. Fantastic guest. Always a pleasure to have him on. And folks, make sure you check us out tomorrow in about 23 hours. We're going to be back here on the Sports Circus on your favorite channel. So until then, so long, everyone.
The sports world. It's a circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas.
You know, score, put the ball down, give it to the referee. You know, and I don't even care if you slam it down, but you don't have to dance. You don't have to call your mom on the phone. You don't have to go hug you.
The Sports Circus is a 1-hour primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC News, and CNBC radio affiliates, plus Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, WOW cable TV affiliates across North America and nationwide in upscale hotels and resorts on hotel television in all 210 Nielsen-rated markets.
Just like a circus. My life is just a party, and parties weren't meant to last. Dickerson.
Jason Hook, guitar player from Five Finger Death Punch.
Sidney Justin from The Miracles.
My name is Curtis Blow. Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court. I'm here on the Sports Circus.
The Sports Circus brings top sports and entertainment content and is delivered fully produced and is easy pass-through traffic for radio stations. Simply drop the program in your traffic manager, and the full 59-minute, 50-second file will coordinate with the clock. Your local station receives up to 4 minutes of local avails during the Sports Circus broadcast, and it's a great lead to live sports and entertainment.
Well, if you're going to talk about our congressman being crooked, why not talk about commercial products who don't do what they represent to do?
Yes!
Big Billy here. He certainly knows something about making things difficult on the competition.
He's a punisher. Yeah, just break the ribs.
Yeah,
I still haven't broke someone's collarbone yet in a boxing match.
That's a great statement. I have not broke someone's collarbone in the ring yet.
I've never heard that before.
I can't
Is
wait.
there a reason you said in the ring?
I can't wait.
Is it that you've broken collarbones just outside of the ring? You did catch that, right? He said in the ring. Yeah, So exactly. like,
He
got him on the curtain. He got him on the edge of the ring and broke his collarbone.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
I had to get Sal's name right.
Well, Sal the floor sweeper. That's his new name.
Sal the bookkeeper. Hey,
Yeah,
you know
but
what? I
even
have a
my
lot of
name,
nicknames,
even my
so
last
just
name.
Add that one to the bank, you know?
But no, Alicia, you even got my last name wrong. That's why I said my
I know it
colon
starts
was
with a
bleeding.
V. It starts with a V.
He said a V. Really? Quick, where's the punch sound? 400 punches.
Here's the punch sound.
Right, exactly. Here's a real, look, he almost knocked out the microphone.
Alicia, that's why they have cue cards, babe. That's so don't let the name bother you. Just bring a cue card with you next time.
But people can't read my name off a cue card.
Well, change your name to Joe Smith or something. Jeez, make it easy.
This is Sal Tuzzolino, host and ringmaster of the Sports Circus. Why listen to the same old dog and pony show that you've heard all day long? The Sports Circus covers everything that other shows don't or are too scared to cover. There's no primetime show like it on air that'll punch you in the mouth and you'll beg for more. Also, you could call in and participate with our chaos if you dare. Join me and celebrity guests for Havoc and Mayhem. Remember, folks, it's a circus, and we prove it every day.
I want to try to instill some of this winning environment for this particular team. What's been your experience? Kevin, we're going to start with you. What was your experience going from Team A to Team B and bringing that Super Bowl experience to the next team?
You know, they were kind of getting on me, wanting me to chill out a little bit, not play a game on a Wednesday and Thursday. But I always felt that, you got to play at game day speed on Wednesday and Thursday so that you're instinctive and you can play on game day speed on game day.
The Sports Circus is received well on all radio formats and is currently aired on sports, news, and music stations.
Andre Reed,
Mario Andretti,
Herschel Walker,
Roy Firestone, Mike Haynes, Jim Jeffco,
Rod Jaworski,
Al Bubba Baker, Brett Saberhagen.
It's a circus, and we prove it every day.
Aaron Fink, Breaking Benjamin.
Jason Hartlett, drummer for rock legend Ted Nugent.
Matt Starr, drummer for Ace Frehley from Kiss.
Phil Buckman, the bass player in the rock band Fuel.